Oh, I've got like swollen face or something.
Hey, Grace, can I have recording permission?
Yep.
Nope.
Sweet. Oh. Okay, we good?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Courtney, just I guess one SEC weekend, well, long weekend for y'all because y'all played a non-conference too after in the books. Just what'd you like, what'd you not like from that first weekend?
Well, I really liked how we competed. I mean, going on the road to open up SEC and you're digging in on Maddie Penta, who's the reigning SEC pitcher of the year. You know that you got to bring your best game from the very jump. That's what the SEC is all about. And I really loved how our players competed. I loved how they competed. I loved how they trusted our plan, how they executed, and to go on the road and get a series win is really huge. I do feel like we gave away a little bit too much on the Sunday game. We made some adjustments. We just made them a little too late and just kind of ran out of time, but we didn't win the game of inches. And that's what it's all about, is the inches went in our favor on Saturday. They didn't necessarily go in our favor on Sunday, and that's softball. But I just really liked our presence. I liked how we competed, and I liked how we started SEC.
And then I've got to ask, I know we saw Robin tweak something that Sunday game. How's she doing?
She's doing well. She's doing well. Obviously when that happens, you're kind of like, oh crap, what is it? What's it going to be? But she's in a good spot. She's getting really good care with Andrew, our trainer, who I think is one of the best in the country, and our doctors. And she's day to day. So where it was thinking that, it might be a stretch, she is day to day, and that's really, really great news. To have Robin be able to have her in the plan.
Awesome.
Dudley?
What kind of challenge does this week's opponent bring?
Well, Mississippi State's really strong. I think when you really dive into their numbers, they score a lot of runs. They hit for high average. They're really disciplined. They have different tools throughout their lineup, and they have a really good mix of pitchers that complement each other, give really different looks. And so I think that just like any SEC opponent, they're gonna, we have to bring our best. They're gonna challenge us. They're gonna make us make quick adjustments. They're gonna make us work on defense. And for us, it's really focusing, especially on the defensive side, of not giving more than what they earn. They walk a lot. They're really disciplined. They're really patient. But we have good strike throwers, and so we can counter that and just make them earn it. So it'll be a good challenge, just like every SEC opponent. But they're playing really well, and they always, they're always really well prepared under Sam. So
I guess this is a day and age of this in the portal, but another one going back to play where she played last year. Just how did you think Bree handled last weekend, and what's the challenge for Reese this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar challenge for Reese as it was for Bree. I think that Bree handled it beautifully, and I'm not sure you can handle it much better than how she did going into it. And it always kind of works out that way, in this day and age of the portal. It's like, of course, we line right back up with Auburn and then Mississippi State. But I think for Bree to go into Auburn and do what she did, I think she controlled her emotions really well. A lot of times you can get outside yourself. You could try to do more than who you are or what you do. And I thought that she was, just elite this weekend, obviously winning SEC Player of the Week, back-to-back weeks, first time in program history. Thank you, G. And so that was really big to see. And then I think it's, obviously another challenge for Reese and our team to rally around him. It's Reese doesn't have, it was just, for her, it was just wanting to find a better fit. She loved the coaches. She loved her teammates. She loved, all those things. It's not always a big storyline, but it is interesting when you have to line up against your former team.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Robin?
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
So we talked a little bit about Bree, but now let's talk about Kennedy Miller. The freshman is impressing SEC and obviously impressing you. So what are you seeing from her so far this season?
well, she should be impressing everybody with how she's playing. So, you know, the reach should go well beyond me and the SEC. It's, you know, she's doing a tremendous job. I mean, to catch every game as a freshman right now and to just see what she does consistently on a daily basis of just competing. She is one of the hardest workers we've had. She dives into the plan, into the prep, and just is executing it at just a really elite level. But she just stays really level, which I think is beyond her years. She stays really level on the defensive side. She stays really level on the offensive side. You rarely see her have a bad at bat. But if she does, it doesn't go her way. It's just something to grow from and build from. And so for her to have that mentality so early, I think it's huge. And obviously she's just, I mean, she's killing it. It was great to see her get freshman of the week. Trip, my 8-year-old, has been looking every week, and you know, she's been putting up tremendous numbers. But there's also some really strong freshmen in our conference, and some that pitch and hit. And so for her to not get it, I know Trip has been like, well, what does she need to do? You know, like, what more can Kennedy do to get this? And so for Kennedy to get it this week, I felt like it was a long time coming. She had to have been in the conversation every week. And for her to get it this week, I know she's happy, but I think the happiest person that she got it is Courtney Deifel. So it's pretty exciting.
Awesome. Thank you.
Evan?
Yeah, good morning, Coach. You know, pitching staff used 3 pitchers last weekend with, you know, Robin day to day. What do you hope to see out of them this weekend?
Well, I hope to see efficiency more than anything. When you have someone that's day to day, you're hoping the others step up and can carry a bigger load. And so just pitching efficiently more than anything. We have pitchers that attack the zone. We have pitchers that work their defense. And so it's just kind of working our mindset. Like, if we can get some quick outs, then more power to us, get us back in the dugout and throw less. So we know they're going to work us. We know they're going to work counts. We know that those things. And so for us, it's just, you know, stepping up. If someone can't go or can go limited, or we're waiting to see, then someone has to step up, and we have the players to do that.
Thanks, Coach.
Porter?
Yes, Coach, we'll go back to Kennedy and her catching, and just what have you seen out of the pitching staff being able to, it seems like they've really been able to settle in with somebody with Kennedy behind the plate. What have you seen out of her ability to really help the pitchers out and focus into SEC play?
Well, I think one of the best things that Kennedy does, and one of the best things any catcher can do, is just be who they are every day. And that's what Kennedy does, is just her consistency of who she is, how she deals with the pitchers. She knows them, and doesn't ride the highs and lows. Catchers, you can't ride the highs and lows, because ultimately you're there for your pitchers and your defense. And so Kennedy does that really, really well. And I know that our pitchers feed off that, so they know exactly what to expect and what they're going to get from Ken. And she's just so level and consistent. But yeah, you're right. I feel like our pitchers have really settled in. I think they've settled in with Ken. If we use Brock, they're fine there. I think that they haven't rode the roller coaster, and that's what I'm really proud of just them getting out there, executing, doing their job. Doesn't matter the circumstance. They just trust what the plan is and execute it to their best potential.
And to Bree, you know, knowing how hyped up she must have been going back to Auburn, do you think it really kind of helped her getting that out of the way? First SEC series going against Auburn. Now she can kind of shake it off and just move on into the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice when that matchup's looming a little bit, to kind of put it in the rearview mirror. And so I would think so. I haven't talked to her since. You know, I think there was a lot around it going into it, and I think there has to be a little bit of like, take a breath now that we're on the other side. But I don't know. I haven't talked to her since. I know there's been, you know, a little bit of a Twitter battle going on. And I think that that's this day and age, but I think she's glad to be done. I think she's glad to move forward. We do go back there for the SEC tournament. But that's way down the road. So I think she's in a good spot.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Eric?
I'll continue the Kennedy love fest here because you know that position as well as anybody and what it takes to play at a high level in that position, both offensively and defensively. Is there any aspect of what she's done that has surprised you? You knew she would be good, but is there any part of you that is surprised in any aspect of her game that she's already excelled at this level, this high?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a heavy load to catch every game, and sometimes that can be draining physically, sometimes it can be draining mentally, and she does a tremendous job of separating the two. So separating the defense and the offense, which a lot of times I think you can see catchers take it to the offense of it's mentally draining to catch every pitch. And you're so just in every pitch, and especially when you're catching different pitchers, you're catching 3 different pitchers in one game. They're all very different. I think what you've seen in Kennedy is that she does an incredible job in the dirt, and so she just works really hard. And then when you have a drop baller like Morgan, you get a lot of foul tips, and so those are all things that can add to just the mental and physical draining, and she never takes it to the offensive side. A lot of times you can see overthinking of what you're going to get, or the umpire zone, or anything, because you have such a close look at the other side of it. And I just think she's been mature beyond her years of just handling this level, and just the offensive side, the defensive side, and just being super consistent with who she is and how she plays and how she approaches every pitch. She's been elite.
You mentioned Mississippi State, what you've seen from them offensively. I'm curious what you've seen from their pitching as staff, especially with Taryn now on board on Samantha's staff. What do you've noticed, if anything, different seen them on tape?
Well, I think they're a reflection of Taryn. I think that they utilize off speed really well. I think she does a really good mix. I think they mix speeds, they mix locations. They do a good job of complementing each other. I mean, Wesley and Marin are two of the most opposite complements that you can have. But I think that she's done a really good job of elevating the entire staff, and being who they need to be. And so I think she's had a huge impact on them.
You played a weekend series at Auburn and then a non-conference game, a quick turnaround Monday. Was that more when you schedule that? Is that a type of deal where you want to challenge your team to see how they can handle kind of a quick turnaround or any supposed hangover from a conference series, or is that just random scheduling?
Random scheduling. Thanks for giving me more credit than that. It was random scheduling. We needed to pay him back for coming. And so it's just like, how can we get that trip in without wearing him out even more, so that's kind of the nice thing. I don't love midweeks. I think you can see that in our scheduling is we have a lot more non-con tournaments and games. And so I like putting them on Monday. So you're staying in that competitive mindset. And then you get the day off, and then you can prep for the weekend to come. So it was more so of how can we get there without having to do the bus 2 ways. And so it was nice to get to fly there from Auburn, and then we just drove home after our game on Monday. So a little less wearing on their bodies, and in a really fixed schedule.
So you prefer a Monday game versus a Tuesday or a Wednesday game if you had it, from a midweek scheduling standpoint?
I do.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. That's I learned something new. I like that. That's very, very
Not
fascinating.
everyone likes that, so we can't obviously always schedule that way. But Mondays, Tuesdays at the latest, so we can turn around and prep for the next weekend.
My last question to you, I've talked to some coaches in the league, and one thing that stood out to them is the replay, and so much replay as far as runners leaving early. That's caught them off guard a little bit. Some of them don't even like it. Have you noticed that from your games you've watched and things like that? Has that stood out something to you there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge, I think we're seeing it be a huge strategy of just trying to catch something that may eliminate some runs, a big hit. You know, I think that I'm not sure it's being used how it was intended. I think that we actually are victim to that quite a bit of implementing rules and then seeing like another intention, and then that's like, oh, that's not really how we intended it. And so I think we're seeing that quite a bit. You know, it's something that we've definitely focused on, is like, we are not going to lose a big hit by leaving early on something, you know, and how our game is, the mechanic of our game, and the umpires, with having 3 umpires, you don't have a lot of eyes on second. And so you've seen a lot of teams that we scout leave second early because there's no one catches it. And so it was for us really fine tuning our timing, but also just knowing and looking at you know what teams are doing, and some just kind of, they don't think about that kind of stuff, and now it could be a huge difference maker in a game. And again, I don't think that's how it was intended, and a lot of times they're getting called out for leaving early for taking a lead, which to me is just like, why? It doesn't, you know, why are you even leaving early, you know? But yeah, I think it's definitely changed a lot. I think it's probably something we'll maybe look at to change later, but more than anything, it's holding runners accountable, and they shouldn't be leaving early anyway. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Do you have any last questions for Coach? Ethan?
Yeah, I know I already asked about Robin and how she's doing. I just wanted to see if you could give just an injury update in general, just of, I know, I think it was Riley who went down as well this weekend, and I know Italia's been rehabbing.
Yeah, well, Riley, I think that was the big shock in game 3, is Robin and Riley, and honestly, how it played out in the game, I think all of us went to worst case scenario mode. And Riley's torn that ACL before, and so she knows what that feels like. Her knee hyperextended, but we got really good reports on both of them. I was telling them they must be living right because they got lucky with those. But we got really good reports on both of them, and so we can ease them back in. And so that's really great. Italia is going to redshirt this year, so she just hadn't progressed how she wanted to, our doctors wanted to, and so she's going to redshirt this year. But coming off this past weekend, I know that the big question was Riley and Rob, and we got really good news with both of them. So very happy.
All right. Do you have any last questions? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.